Hello everybody, Raven Knight here. Okay, let's jump right into the good stuff. No need to waste time. I want to talk about this. I know that a lot of y'all came to see my Warriors Den live stream reaction, and so most of you know what's coming. For those of you who don't, this is a brief summary of what to expect, what I saw in the Warriors Den, and I'm just sharing with you my personal thoughts because, you know, with the Warriors Den live stream, you kind of got to keep up with what they're saying. I didn't have a lot of time to pause and explain myself or explain my thoughts on the matters, so this is my chance to really hash out with you guys what I saw and what I think of it. So let's get started. Let's not waste any time. So first of all, the new season is called Golden Age, and what it's basically about is the pirate hero has shown up in Heathmore to search for treasure, but very specific treasures, which are relics to Heathmore. And the first relic that she is looking for is the Chalice of Immortality, basically the Holy Grail. According to the lore that they're releasing now, a long time ago, before Heathmore was even Heathmore, before it was even called that, there was an ancient warden by the name of, Lord Ramiel, correct, Lord Ramiel. And he had a goal of bringing peace to his people. Now, what was the peace? What was the conflict? We don't know. They don't explain that, and I'm sure they'll explain it later. Point is, he went out seeking a way to save his people and to bring peace. So he seeks out this great wyvern, a great dragon, and the two make a blood pact to work together to bring peace, and they swear it on the cup of Christ, on the Chalice of Immortality. So that's the lore, that's the reason behind the chalice, and he brought about the golden age of Heathmore through his work with the wyvern. So now, the warden is getting access to the very first hero skin we see in For Honor, which is the skin of Lord Ramiel. Now, let's talk about that since we're on that point. The hero skin, what do I think of it? We finally now understand what a hero skin is. It's basically a full workover. It's basically you're wearing this new outfit like a giant skin suit, which basically covers up your body. It just changes your entire look from top to bottom. And you can't alter or adjust or change any aspect of your armor specifically. Like, for example, you can't change your weapon pieces, you can't change your armor pieces, you can't change your gender, you can't change your skin tone. None of that can be changed. All of that is locked. You basically just look like you are cosplaying Lord Ramiel. The only things you can change are your executions, emotes, and signatures and the like. And you can also change your material for your armor and the color of the sash on the armor. Those are the only things you can change. Now, what do I think about that? I think it's awesome, but I also don't like it. But let me explain why. When I say I don't like it, that doesn't mean I don't think it's a good idea. I actually think it's a great idea because, like they said, it creates more options for the players to be creative about what they do with their characters. If you don't like the way your warden looks, you don't like the armor set, you want a more fantasy-style warden, then go with Lord Ramiel. That's going to give you a more fantasy-style warden than any of the other outfits. If you like the way Lord Ramiel looks, go for it. It's a very good design. If I'm being honest, Lord Ramiel looks sick. He has a very awesome look to him. But let me tell you the one reason why I'm not a big fan. Because it limits the customization options once you get there. For example, let's say that I wanted to have a Lord Ramiel look, but, and I'm not a big fan of the way the sword looks, so I want to change the sword to Winged Victory Sword. Well, I can't do that. Okay, well, maybe I want Lord Ramiel to represent my colors, so I'm going to put my emblem on his sash. Well, you can't do that. Okay, well, I think Lord Ramiel looks way too feminine, so I'm going to go ahead and switch his body type to female. You can't do that. You see what I mean? With the other characters, you had more options in terms of, I like this but don't like this, I'm going to alter this out and change this in. With the hero skin, you can't do that. Once you choose the hero skin, a lot of stuff is locked and you can't change it. Now, for some, that's not a problem at all. For some, that's just fine because those are things that they don't care about. They just like the fantasy aspect. They like the way Lord Ramiel looks. They want to keep it that way, and that's great. And you know what? I will set up a customization slot so that I can run a Lord Ramiel run-through if I want to. But on the other side of that, I like the fact that if there's a new armor set for Ruth that comes out and I want it to be Ruth's new armor set, I can pick that armor set and apply it to Ruth. I can't do that with Lord Ramiel. So while I do think it's a creative option and one that I think a lot of people are going to enjoy, myself included, I have to say I'm a little underwhelmed, only because I feel like it takes away a lot more than what I wanted it to. I kind of wanted it to have the option to change, like maybe you could add your own emblems, maybe you could add embossings, or you could add like paint patterns, but no, you can't, and I'm a little disappointed in that. It's not a game breaker for me. It's not a deal breaker. I'm sure that there are going to be some skins that come out that are even more intricate or interesting than this, and some will, and maybe they'll correct that error in the future and say, you know what, we've decided to add this to hero skins. Maybe they will, but for now, it's cool, just not the big selling point for me. So what else have they added? They've also announced that to talk about the lore of Lord Ramiel, they're going to be releasing short stories about his character. I wonder where they got that idea from. I wonder if the For Honor devs have been watching my Legend series and said, hey, we can do that too. Telling stories about your own original For Honor characters. Who has done that? Who's done that before, huh? Well, leaving that aside, whether they are or not ripping off of me, I'll leave that aside for now. What I will say is I'm going to read their short story on Lord Ramiel, and I will be critiquing it from a storytelling standpoint, from a character standpoint. I'm going to critique it because you've stepped into my realm now. You've stepped into the narrative section. That's where I stand. People can tell me, you don't know anything about games, you don't know anything about technical design, but I do know storytelling, and that I can address. So I will be looking at that, mark my words, and I think that'll be a lot of fun. But, okay, that's not what y'all want to talk about. I mean, that's cool, but what about what they've done to the maps, right? What about the dragons flying around? People have been saying For Honor has stepped away from its original roots. It's gone from a semi-realistic world to a pure-on fantasy world. Okay, I'm going to do a whole video in the future talking about that, whether or not I think that it's a good idea for Honor to go full fantasy and what can be gained or lost by doing a fantasy setting. But I will do a very brief explanation here. While I agree that going the full fantasy direction is a little disappointing because I like the aspect of realistic warriors fighting each other, we also need to accept a reality. The game itself was predicated on something a little fantastical. The great cataclysm happening, basically destroying the world, and these three cultures which have never met. Vikings have never fought 15th or 16th century knights. Samurai have never fought either. And the Wulin never crossed swords with knights or Vikings. The fact that a cataclysm would happen, lead all of them to running into each other and then fighting each other, that's a bit fantastical to my way of thinking. But does that mean that it's good to go so fantasy we jump into dragon territory? I do think that jumped the shark a little. From a realistic standpoint, it did jump the shark. We stepped a little too far out. Now, is that a bad thing? Yes and no, but again, I'm saving that for another video. But I recognize the complaints now people are making that For Honor has really stepped too far away from its roots. I will do a video talking about that. Look forward to it. We will discuss that reality. They've also announced a temporary game event mode, which I think looks pretty fun. I didn't catch all of the details about it because I was gushing over some other stuff at the time, but essentially it looks like a combination of Dominion and Skirmish, but with buffs and debuffs involved, where you have to fight and defeat Lord Ramiel in the center of Cathedral. The art for the game mode looks awesome. They've got wyverns flying around. They've got a very autumn-esque Skyrim or Elden Ring style feel to it. Looks really, really beautiful. Looks absolutely amazing. I'm very excited for what's coming. Speaking of which, in events and stuff, let's talk about the new Battle Pass. They showed off the Battle Pass weapons, and guys, I have never felt so impressed by weapon designs on this game until now. Most of the weapon designs, with very few exceptions, look absolutely sick. Even on the temporary event game mode weapon designs, they looked pretty stinking cool. Very excited for what's coming there. I think they're awesome. If you haven't seen them yet, I'm trying to scroll them across the screen as fast as I can so that y'all can take a look and see for yourselves what I'm talking about. Do these not look really awesome? I know, right? It's great. So jump onto the game, have some fun with it. They've also admitted they're going down a more fantasy route, so that means that we're getting some fantasy mask outfits, a fantasy execution, some fantasy emotes. I just think it's clear that they're going down the fantasy road here, so if they've decided to go guns blazing down this road, let's follow them and see where they end up. I'm very curious. I think that it's going to be a very interesting ride. All right, so now let's talk about the other major aspects to it. They also brought up the reality of training grounds, or testing grounds, right? So testing grounds, they're bringing Conqueror back into testing grounds. I want to edit a few things about him. And they're bringing Shaolin into the testing grounds. Now, Conqueror. There's a mixed response to Conquerors. On the one hand, people are saying he's nerfed too far. He's going to be too weak to play now. Others are saying he's right where he needs to be. My position, I think he's right where he needs to be. I think what they've done with Conk is a lot smarter. It doesn't require as much turtling as it does thought and pressure. They've taken away his infinite light chains. They've allowed him to go into shield bashes off of a combo rather than just out of static. They have taken away his ability to do an unblockable wind up into the combo, which I think was a good idea. I think that they've done some good stuff with him. And again, if you want to hear the full details about it, go watch the Warriors Den stream and they'll go into the full details. But I personally think that it's a good change. As for Shaolin, I never thought Shaolin needed that much of a buff, but based on what I saw, I can't say that what they've done is bad either. They've allowed him more options out of and into key stance. They've adjusted his leg sweep so that it's more viable now and you can actually get some hits in with it and get to it a lot easier. They've allowed him to dodge out of his key stance, and they've made it more useful to do lights from key stance because his lights are now enhanced, which means that they can't just end a combo if blocked. They can still follow through with the next part of their combo, which I think is good. I think that the choices that they've made with Shaolin and Conk, I think that they're good choices. I think that they look nice. I'm still waiting on them to throw in characters like Highlander or Nucia to the testing grounds, but hey, you know what? Piece by piece, we're going to get there. So, hey, I think it's cool. I'm excited for what the testing grounds bring. Look forward to that. I'm going to try out Shaolin and Conk to see what they do, and I'll pass my judgment once that happens. So, hey, I think that's going to be very creative. And last but not least, the part that everyone's been talking about, everyone and their mother is excited about. Freeze has made videos about it. Slanders has made videos about it. I think Marco Yolo's made a video about it. Everyone's talking about it. Cross-platform For Honor. All right, now I'm going to throw my hat into the ring. So when you talk about cross-platform For Honor, there are two sides of the conversation. On the one side is, oh man, this is so awesome. I can't wait for cross-platform. I'm finally going to get to play with all my friends. The other side of that argument is, this is going to be awful. This is an awful decision to do for Honor because PC gamers have an automatic advantage over console gamers, and that's just going to make it impossible to play for console gamers, especially considering console is the main place all the players play. There are far more PS4 and Xbox players of For Honor than there are PC players, so PC players are just going to own the market and push people away. All right, here's my stance on the issue. I understand and respect both aspects of the discussion. I think both sides raise good points. While I do think that PC gamers, as a rule, have better frame rates and have a slightly better advantage over console players, I think the developers know that. I don't think they would be unaware. They've mentioned it before. So that leads me to believe that they must be doing something to balance that out. I don't know what. Are they adjusting frame rate so that they're even when doing cross-platform? Are they nerfing down the frame rates for PC? Are they upping the frame rates for consoles? Or are they assuming that everyone's eventually just going to get an updated platform or console so that they can all have 60 FPS? I don't know what they're expecting. But I assume that they're, like they said, it's a two-phase process. They're basically starting out now, allowing the matchmaking to happen, and then later on, they're going to be tweaking it, fixing it, editing it to make it work, and then making it fully cross-platform where you can invite friends from other platforms to play on. So, where do I stand? I am excited for the cross-platform. I want to see what they do. I want to see how they handle it. It could be great. It could be terrible. I don't know. And I have said this, and I mean it. If it comes down to it, if let's say that they do the cross-platform thing, and it really is a crapshoot, it really does favor the PC or newer generation consoles, I am saving money to get a PlayStation 5 when it becomes available again. I hope to get one so that way I can have better frame rates, and if we're going to be doing this cross-platform, that way I'll be able to play with other people, other content creators, and some of my fans. So that is something that I plan to do in the future. So regardless of how it goes, I will hopefully be prepared for it. But there's also something else that I want y'all to consider too. While yes, technology does play a role, and the PC gaming system and the newer generation consoles will have an advantage, absolutely. There's also the matter of skill to be considered. In my experience, skill matters so much more than any of that other stuff. For example, let's say that you took an average PC For Honor player versus the top-ranked PS4 player, and you had them fight. I have a feeling the top-ranked PS4 player is probably going to do better. only because he's played so long and done so much work and trained himself to the point that he knows every hero's capabilities, his own capabilities, is a good reader, and can beat the other guy. Whereas the PC player is just average, doesn't play that hard or that often, knows the game pretty well, and even though he might have better frame rate reads, he might not be able to account for baits, he might not be able to account for unexpected capabilities of his opponent. There are lots of facets that go into this beyond just technology. So I don't want to look at this and just say, oh, well, he's using a better console or he's using a better platform, therefore he's automatically going to do better. Maybe, but not necessarily. So I also want to remind y'all that skill does play a role in this. So I don't want to just discount anyone, because that goes into what I talked about in my most recent response video. This whole idea of the rock, paper, scissors fallacy. My rock will always beat your scissors. My scissors will always beat your paper. My paper will always beat your rock. That isn't always the case. My PC will always beat your PS4. Not necessarily. By that logic, then everyone should just put away their consoles and buy a PC, and therefore they would never lose, right? It doesn't work that way. But then again, like I've said, technology and the technical aspects of gaming is not something that I'm great at. It's not something that I understand as well as some other people like Freeze or Marco Yolo or these other people. My area of expertise is in fantasy writing, narratives, history, armor and weapons. Those are the areas that I'm good at. All of this right now is just me giving you my stance and what I believe to be the case. There are probably some of you out there who say, nah, Raven, you don't understand. Let me explain the real issue here. And feel free to explain it to me in the comments. I will listen. I will try to understand. I may ask questions. But I recognize that this is not something that I am 100% familiar with to the point that I can give objective criticism or objective understanding of this issue. Cross-platform is stepping out of my area of understanding. I can talk much more about the story of this Oath of Wyverndale and talk about the realism behind it, the ethics behind it, the history behind it, the armor. I can talk about those things. I can talk about the martial capabilities of the heroes. I can talk about all that when it comes to technical aspects like balancing, cross-platform and stuff like that. It's not my cup of tea. And some people may use that as an excuse to say, well, you don't know what you're talking about. And maybe I don't know everything that I'm talking about, but I have the right to speak my mind about this. And in my mind and in my position, I don't think cross-platform is going to end the game or destroy the game. It's kind of like how I responded when people said that Elden Ring would kill For Honor. No, it won't. People will often say, oh, it's going to kill For Honor. It's not. Slanders did a great video where he broke down why For Honor is not dying. The fact that we're getting cross-platform discussions at all shows that the game's not dying. The fact that I pointed this out, they said that they got an actual orchestra to make the soundtrack for this. They put time and money and energy into that. It's not dying. The game is not dying. So I don't think Elden Ring is going to kill it, and I don't think bringing cross-platform in is going to kill it. Will it make it difficult to play for some? Sure, but you also have the option to opt out of cross-platform if you don't want to do it. Is it going to be difficult? Is it going to require tweaks? Is it going to require effort on the part of the devs? Absolutely. But it also requires our patience and our understanding. The devs have admitted this is new territory for them. For Honor was never meant to be cross-platform. They are trying to make it cross-platform because we've asked for it to be. Now they're trying to grant our wish. Let's be fair and patient with them as they try to grant that wish. They're not genies. They're not going to magically make it happen. They have to work on it, figure out what works and what doesn't work, figure out the best way to tweak it to make it as balanced as they possibly can, and then see where they go from there. I'm willing to be patient. I hope we all can be. So, case in point, how do I feel about the new announcement? I am pumped. There's a lot to be excited about with what's coming. New outfits, new emotes, new signatures, new executions, a Hero Fest going on. I didn't even mention the Hero Fest. Apparently they're doing this new thing where once or twice every season they're going to have a Hero Fest where you can play as where people can play as one specific hero who they haven't bought yet, completely free for I think a weekend. And you can also get access to a brand new unique execution for that hero. I think that's cool. Great and clever ways to get people playing new heroes, trying out the game, trying out new aspects of the game, learning about new playstyles and stuff like that. I think that genuinely these are good ideas. Not only business-wise, but in keeping the game fun and functional. Testing Grounds is still awesome. The new narrative and lore sounds very fascinating. I can't wait to dig deeper into that, and I'll do some videos discussing what I think about that and the fantasy aspects of it. And again, I'm going to do a whole video talking about where I think the narrative is going and whether or not it's good to be this high fantasy or not. that video is coming later. But for now, I hope you have liked this video. I hope you appreciate and understand my thoughts as I go into this and as I explain all this. I know that it's kind of new territory for me, but I'm learning, and I appreciate folks like Slanderous and others who are willing to help explain this stuff to me. And again, if you have some insight into this that I don't, and you understand aspects about the cross-platform and the testing grounds and stuff like that that I don't understand, and you can rationally and reasonably explain to me how this is good or bad, please hit me up in the comments and I'll hear you out. Just don't be surprised if I ask questions, because this is new for me and I'm trying to learn. That's what I do. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. We're doing real great in that category. Don't forget to leave comments down below with your thoughts, your opinions, your concerns, and also don't forget to leave a like on the video. I love it when you leave likes because it lets me know that you did enjoy what I produced. And I will see you in my next video. Take care.